Hi everyone, and welcome to Stitch and Chris. My name is Chris. I'm a knitter and crocheter based in Texas, and I enjoy wool, wine, and whiskey. So I think we're back. It's been about a year since I posted the last episode, and a lot has happened in that year, obviously. A lot has happened for all of us, but for me in particular, I will go into that. And like what was happening, and you know who's asking that question? Absolutely no one. But I feel like once I posted that last video, I realized there was a lot going into editing videos and creating the content, and that's fine. Like I get that with YouTube, and like that comes with the territory, and that's 100% understandable. But the thing is that what I didn't appreciate was that I was saying in the past two videos, like, here's what I want to make, here's what I can make, and I was trying to do it like every month. And when I started the projects I was saying I was going to make, I realized very quickly that A, either there were projects I was not comfortable completing, or B, like I was making projects just for content to talk about, and I didn't appreciate that, because to me that takes the joy out of crafting in general. Like I personally got back into it because I needed help focusing on things that would further me, and it just wasn't like, it takes it out. And I also heavily stopped making things for people just because they ask. Like if I'm making you a gift, like that's different. All my friends know that, like, okay, birthdays you get hats, if you ask me maybe a scarf, and then weddings you get a blanket. But it's like outside of that realm, I don't like making things just to like I feeling like a sweatshop. I don't like doing that, and that's kind of why I stopped. And half the reason too was because I posted that last episode at the end of February, and so when I was working on the projects, I started like 3 of them that I said I would be working on. I actually completed 1 of them. Well, 2. But the problem is that because they weren't being completed in time, I then said, well, I could push it off to next month. And then that came around, and then next month happened. And then in Texas, it gets really hot, and this summer was so hot the entire time, and the Crojo just like was not there anymore. I stopped crafting for a good 6 months just because it was so hot here, and that's reflected in my temperature blanket for sure. It's just a long strip of just one color for about, let's say, a like month and a half, just because it was over 110 degrees every single day, and that's just like, great, thanks. On top of that, it's just like I didn't want to feel forced to do anything. So then the question could be saying, well, and this is not a little hypocritical because you're coming back now. And it's like, well, now I have a different mindset towards it all. I have a lot to talk about. I do want to talk about my knits and my crochets and everything. I have been working a lot on things I really want, and I've been kind of projecting what I want to do, but that's kind of where we're going to go. So in format, what I want to do is talk about what I've made so far, or like my favorite things. This is not a top 2023 makes or anything like that, but this is just things I want to talk about because it's my own rules and I get to set them. So if you want to hang around for all of that, go do the dishes, put me on in the background, go fold your laundry, go scream at your children, and hopefully you don't get an ad for like Expedia.com or something like that. So the first project I wanted to talk about that's fully completed is TL Yarn Crafts Amber Afghan. It's currently on my lap right now because it's amazing. It is, and I finished this, I would say, probably in April or May of 2023, and you use 9 different balls of yarn for the colors, and it's done in Tunisian crochet simple stitch on like a bias, so you're constantly adding rows, and then you are going to be decreasing once to create the long rectangle. And I'll throw a picture up here for reference, but I loved the original concept, and I wanted to use all of the cool green tones in Hue and Me and combine them with like neutral browns and stuff, and this gorgeous purple, which it is not coming through on the camera, but it is like it's called Crush, and it's like, I'd say a berry mixed with a stain of wine, and I love that. And you'll see it in another project I've used, but you know, overall, I am not a Tunisian crochet person, but I appreciate it. I do like the length of it. I like the warmth of it all, and it's a great statement piece. The original project has tassels, and I started doing the tassels, and I quickly realized I did not want to do the tassels just because it was too time consuming, and I wasn't really like, when I started fringing them, I realized I wasn't particularly happy with the result I was getting. And so finally I was just like, you know what? It still looks good on its own. It's a statement piece. It is nice, and I love it. Again, machine washable and dryable because it's in Hue and Me by Lion Brand. Actually, all of these knits are going to be in Hue and Me. Just because it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite yarns. I'm going to be biased about it, guys. I'm going to be biased. But yeah. But overall, I would give this project... Let's see here. What's my fake rating system here? I would give it 7 for alligators, for sure. Just because it's fun to do, a little bit prickly at times. Oh, I was also using a wooden crochet hook for Tunisian crochet from Chaigu. And I don't work with wood hooks a lot. And I didn't really, like, the slip wasn't really there, and it did get really time consuming, but like I wanted to finish it just because I wanted to be done with the project halfway through. Like that's kind of the majority for what I'm trying to accomplish here. But overall, very, very nice. Very good project. Okay, so this next project we're going to be talking about, and I think I talked about it in my very first episode. It's called the Wands Balaclava. It is by Two of Wands. Also made in Hue of Me by Two of Wands. This is the second balaclava I've made. I use the color Smoke. I don't genuinely like to use the same color scheme. That is what the pattern's called for. But honestly, I needed something neutral. I wanted something more masculine for me because I knew that in the cold months I was going to wear it. And wear it I did. That was something I was very adamant about. And I finished this one back in October of 2023. And I mean, I can put it on, but it's going to ruin my hair. But I love it. Like, do you see this? I love it because it's like a little cowl and it protects everything. You have your drawstrings, and I did not block this. So it is like perfect for my face. I have a very wide face and this holds, but like I love the knit, and it's a fake cable pattern, which I had never done before actually making this. But it's overall pretty easy. It took me probably a week to make, maybe a week and a half, just because what you do is that you knit in the round and then you start doing it row by row. Once that's done, you then pick up stitches to then create the flap for the drawstring, and then you use DPN needles to make the drawstring with like an eyelet stitch or whatever. It's pretty simple, but overall pretty great. The other balaclava I made was for my best friend Kelly when she went to Iceland, so hopefully she used it. But I'm excited because I know Two of Wands is coming out with a crochet version, and I'm like interested to see how that one turns out. I know that that's going to be done in worsted weight, and this is, oh, there's Gare, but this is going to be done, this is done in bulky weight, and hers is done in worsted weight because crochet makes a thicker fabric. And, you know, interestingly to see like how it drapes and everything, I will most likely make it. But yeah, love it. Honestly, was experimenting with like seeing, oh God, look at this pattern. It just looks so good on camera. And like, I'm just, I'm very happy about it. To seam it up, you use Kitchener stitch. And it's basically like, I had to watch like videos on it in the entire time, and it's like over, under, like it's a whole thing, but it creates an invisible seam to get everything together. And honestly, 10 out of 10 would make this. Again, they're easy to make, they're fun to make, and they keep you warm, and they're very fashionable if you really want that. But it's funny because it was in the cold of the Texas freeze here in January, and I was wearing this with my parka, and someone was all like, "You look like Kenny from South Park." And I just said, well, Kenny from South Park was warm, and I was warm. So that's all that matters when it comes to these things that we make. That's the whole purpose of it. So this next piece we're going to talk about is the Make a Statement scarf by Woods and Wool. This was a pattern. Oh, here, let's actually show you this scarf. So it's done using by 6 different colors of Hue and Me. It's one of the original patterns that came out when the yarn was introduced. And the original pattern is like, oh, you use all different color palettes to kind of use it. But what I wanted to do, number one, was to stash bust. I also wanted to challenge myself to wear warmer colors because I bought this really nice tan pea coat at the end or like midwinter. And I was like, I don't really have scarves that go with this. What can go with this? And I was like, I need more warm colors. And I had all of these warm colors for Hue and Me in my stash that I wanted to get rid of. And I also found that like when I experimented with this scarf, it kind of opened the doors to more things. It opened the doors to this blanket right here that we'll talk about in a second. But it also opened the doors to different color combinations that you're about to see to kind of like go with everything. And it really just was something I wasn't expecting to love so much. Like, it's a good length. What you do is linen stitch, but you hold and carry the yarn underneath the contrast color, and you do 9 repeats of the contrast color. So this entire thing, like, you're holding a strip of yarn through the whole entire thing, instead of like a 3 color repeat as for like normal linen stitch and everything, if you're trying to do that. But overall, love it. Nice and long, nice and warm. That's the other thing. And I love the color combination of like this brown and the spicy color. And originally I was going to use a white color in this. It wasn't really what I was after, combined with the desert color, this like like nude tan color. It was just too bright, and it wasn't something that it was complementing with the opposite side. And the other, that's the other thing. I wanted to do an ombre sort of thing. So this second square right here is used in the color Spicy mixed with the color Saffron. And you can't really tell until it changes to the yellow. But overall, like, I just love how this turned out. And again, it gave me a lot to think about and a lot more to work with coming into the next projects we're going to talk about. And if you want to try the pattern, I'll try to link it below, but by all means, it's so easy. It's one of those where I did this within like a week and a half, just because I was just watching a lot of TV and watched a lot of True Detective with this one, and it really flew by. So easy scarf, easy pattern, and I love those. And the end piece is so nice. I got a lot of compliments on this one. So yeah, give it a try. Okay, so this next one, it's not finished. It's finished, but the ends aren't weaved in. But this is the new Hue sweater by North Knits. Again, the lighting isn't really catching it that well, but I fell in love with this pattern because it not only used 5 different colors, there were colors I wanted to experiment with. And the sad thing, so the reason why I haven't sewn in the ends for this is because this was the second sweater I made of 2023. And I think. But this is my first, what are they called? No, this is a bottom-up sweater, and it's not worked in the round. You work the 2 panels of stockinette stitch, and then you pick up the stitches of the sleeves and work in the round for that. And that part was easy. That part wasn't that challenging. But I started this sweater back in August, and it took me 3 months just because I was kind of worried that it like wasn't going to work out, and there was a lot to go into it because it is a color work sweater. And the colors are gorgeous, obviously. The main color, Crush, like I talked about in the Amber Afghan, is what I was going for, and I wanted more muted tones, but also combined with the color, like this light blue color and this brown color. The main reason why I did not weave in the ends is because as I'm trying this on, I think I misinterpreted the size of my body. And I was worried. I thought it would stretch and everything. I made, and this is going to sound foolish. Oh, there's Gare. There's Gare going. This is going to sound really foolish, but I made the extra small And like, it's for, the model is a woman, and like, I always just account for like, oh, like bust space and stuff. And I took my measurements, I fully took my measurements, and I was like, it'll stretch. And like, I have broad shoulders. Like, it's very apparent when I put this on. The problem is that it's too short, and I seamed it up. So it's like, it's too short for like the bottom. And so I was like, is it gonna look bad and tacky if I pick up the stitches and then like continue in this ribbed pattern to kind of make it longer? Or like, I was just kind of defeated, and I honestly might do that still. I don't know. But like, it's a really nice sweater. The sleeves were super fun to do, and again, the color palette, the reason why I love this pattern was because like, you could really choose any color palette you want and like, it'll all work, but I wanted this like cool tone sweater, and it just looks so good. And like, I love this. And it's warm and it's plushy and everything, but it's like, I was fooled again, and it's on me, and it's on me, but I was fooled for making the extra small, because it's like, would a small have been better? With a medium? The problem is that like, with sweaters in particular, I want them to fit properly. I want them to be very shapely for myself. And I thought like my features could like it. I mean, they really stretch it out. You can see my shoulder. They stretch it out. They do. But like, there is such a thing as a big schmedium scenario. And even after blocking, I don't know. So that's why I haven't sewn everything in yet. But I wanted to show it off because this is actually one of the ones from episode 2 that I said I would actually complete, and I did. And I love it. I love the color palette, but I have no heart to unseam everything, to rip it all back and just rewind to start all over, just because like, it's so cute. So that's why I'm all like, should I just cast on, and should I pick up these stitches to keep the ribbing going? I don't know. And I think we're getting over our cold front here anyway, so it's not gonna matter that much. But and surprisingly, like, you're thinking, oh, maybe your arms are a little too big too. No, it fits my arms just fine. It's literally just like, it stretches out here, and it is too short. It is short enough where if I do like lift up, you will be seeing skin. And it's just like, I want things to be a little bit more shapely, and I want them to be long enough, but not like so much so I was swimming in it, because I don't like sweatshirts that I swim in. But I also underestimated how like much mass I actually gained in comparison to my last sweaters. And as if you go back in the other videos, like, the sweaters that I've made are obviously too big, so that's why this time around I said, well, let me do something smaller. And I knit it in the gauge properly, and I knit it in the needle size properly. But it just, I unfortunately just probably, what I could have done was probably just make the body in the size medium and keep the sleeves in the size small, because I have shorter arms. I'm only 5'8", so like, it's not the proper size, but I don't know. But you need to see it, because, and take inspiration from the colors. It is so nice. Like, and a horizontal pattern, hell yeah. Like, are you kidding? Like, ugh. And this one wasn't so bad knitting in stockinette compared to like a cardigan. And that's the other thing. I really loved making like a pullover, just because like, it's so much easier than a cardigan. A cardigan is 3 panels plus the sleeves, and you have to seam them all up, and you have to block them first. But like, just to pick up the stitches for the sleeves was so nice. So nice. Oh god. And so I'm like looking for that again. Or maybe I don't do the color changes, I just do one big sweater like that and call it a day and think of other things and then do like a little design on it. But who knows? But like I said, this is the new hue sweater by North Knits. And honestly, the size chart was actually to a T. The only thing I had a problem with was doing the ribbing for the sleeves. I found that actually following the pattern, and again, it has nothing to do, maybe it has everything to do with the size that I chose, but like, by the end, like, you're decreasing in the round. And like, I couldn't even put my like hand out for there, and it wasn't fitting properly. So I had to just, I think I left it with obviously more stitches to let my hand just slip through the wrist. But yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But overall, oh yeah, and there's so many ends to weave in, so I don't know. But I was proud of this, and it has unfortunately sat in my project bag for too long. Maybe I just need to put on some good TV and just get it done, but who knows. Okay, let's talk about this blanket behind me. This blanket is for my friends Philip and Maddie. They're getting married in a couple weeks, and so my goal whenever I make a blanket for people is that I try to do it before the month that the wedding is in, so I have time to talk about it if I need to post about it. I can send it to them, and I also just don't want to be like last minute trying to do things. That's just, it's my meticulous time. So like I said, with the Make a Statement scarf, the pattern is so easy because it's a 9 repeat of linen stitch where you just hold the contrast colors over the existing yarn, and then you keep going that way. Now, the Make a Statement scarf is incredibly long because it's 6 squares of 9 of the 9 pattern. So what I did is that I was like, I was really trying to make my own pattern for this, but I wasn't really particularly happy with everything I was like making. And so finally, once I did that scarf pattern, I was like, oh God, I kind of know what I want to do. And when I was working with Maddie, mostly Maddie, not Phil, to talk about like and consult, okay, what colors are you looking for? What's your inspiration? Where would this be in your home kind of thing? Maddie was saying that like we would put this in our library area, and she sent me browns, greens, grays, and everything. And I said, perfect. I kind of know I know the colors I wanted to choose, but I didn't know how to incorporate that. And really halfway through, I was like, well, I wanted to do like, I was really focused on library, like where are we going with that? And the Make a Statement scarf had the repeats where it kind of, to me, looks like books. And so when you see the actual repeats, what I did in comparison, so I chose 4 different colors instead of 6, and what I did, as you can see, is that, so brown is the main color. It's called Macchiato in the line of yarn and Hugh and Me. And so I held it, this is actually the bottom of the blanket technically, but I held the main color and then put the contrast color, then you switch those, and so it kind of all flows into one. And then you switch back to brown as the main color to introduce the secondary color of green. And then finally, you do that again with the final color of silver. And it's funny, I started this project at least 4 times because it's long enough for sure. It fits a queen size bed. And I love that just because I originally made it too small. The width was too small. And I was like, oh, this is not gonna like work out, especially like for me, like I wouldn't want that. And so I ripped it out like 3 different times, and I put like 160 chains in it to start. And so that's why it's incredibly wide. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I mean, like Phil and Maddie can go under, like they can both be under it. Like that's something I really wanted. Like it can hold 2 people. So one of the main things with this pattern in particular, or the blanket I was making in particular for them, and this is not to say that I'm lazy, because it's clearly not lazy work. Like I love how it looks. I wanted a pattern that I can just be incredibly mindless with, watched a lot of TV with it. I wanted something I can just like forget, and like it was simple enough to do so. It was nice to actually do, but by the end I was just really amazed by how large it was, and like when I staged it to take pictures of it that I will post later, I was just so impressed by like the elegance and simplicity of it, but also it's custom. I was worried because the last wedding gift that I made was mostly in these colors too. It's in its own realm. They're all so different, and I'm very pleased. Phil and Maddie, I hope you are pleased with it too, just because like I had a lot of fun in making it. And really, I think it's a good statement heirloom piece that should just keep in your library. And I wanted, the repeat does look like books and everything, and that's kind of what I was going for. So yeah, that's just, I don't have a name for it, because if it's based off the make a statement scarf, then it's a Make a Statement blanket, and that's not by me. Don't be all I did was just widen the scarf technically and shorten the repeat rows. So that's all you gotta do. And even with that, it's still really large. So we've come to the point of the video where I like to call it the learning curve, where we go over a past project that I have created and kind of go over like what I learned, some things that I was looking into, and how that has transcended into my maker journey, as they would say. So this is my pattern for an Ariel Amigurumi. And the thing is that actually, now I think about, look at her, there's a lot to talk about. The thing is that I made her in April or May of 2023 because I wanted to celebrate the new movie coming out with Halle Bailey. And I was like, oh, I have a pattern. Let me go do all of this. So Ariel was the reason why I got into crochet in the first place. That's a very weird sentence to say, but back when I started crocheting in high school, I wanted to make the amigurumis, and Ariel was the first one that I made. I have patterns on all of the princesses from Disney. I don't publish them because it's just like I don't want to pattern test them, but I did get good throughout all of them, and Ariel was the first one because it's an easy shape. Really, it's just the head and then the neck, and you keep going to make the tail and just color switch. And so I was interested to see how I would feel after crocheting this, because I haven't done any amigurumi in quite some time. Like that's a part of me that like is just not something that I do. They take up space. I'm not really, it's not for me right now. But also I wanted to use the different yarns that are now on the market for it, because before I would use like Red Heart Super Saver because of all the colors, or Karen, just because I like the thickness of it. So this time around, I used Lion Brand like Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling, and I also used Skein Tones. It's a palette of skin tone colors in Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling. And how I make my amigurumi is I use an H hook. I don't use a G hook, and because G is too small for me, and so I'm like, I just can't, like, it hurts my hand after a while. And so H really, like, it makes the project a little bit bigger. It's not so small, but you can see, like, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about here. What I used to do, and I did not do it for this one, I would buy plastic spoons and snap them at the base to kind of put them in. Especially like the princesses that have dresses. Like for an Ariel, I would just do it up to the torso so that her neck has a little bit more stability. There's no spoon in here, so like all of her hair is like, it like flops it over, which is a problem. Like a spoon would have helped give her a skeleton, if you will. But for the other princesses that I do, because of their ball gown dresses, I don't even break the spoon because it just holds them upright and it's great. But like, you experiment with the different tails and everything. The problem with Basic Stitch Anti-Pilling is that I think my gauge was just too off. I just don't like how holy it is. Like, you can see the stuffing and everything. I also would choose different color palettes because I fully thought this was all going to work and it's all in the same color. But like, I just feel like it's not as true to what the movie color palette was. And the other thing I know when making these particular dolls is that when it comes to the princesses, I'm either what I call fringing or I put a wig on them. And so with Ariel, I used to put a wig on them, whereas that meant I would crochet in the round and then make basically a wig piece and then sew the wig piece on. But with Ariel, I found that as I kept doing it, to get the flow of her hair, especially in mermaid form, to get the flow of her hair right, I liked fringing it a lot more. But because of that, really, that makes the head really heavy. And so that's why it's hard to plop her up and everything. So I would definitely do different things, but I wanted to pay tribute to my first crochet pattern that I ever wrote, because like it really kicked off why everything I wanted to do this for. It gave me the resources to make other better patterns. And so I just really was thinking like, this is going to be really spectacular. And I love her. I put her next to I put her over here in my shells and everything. Amigurumi are quite tedious to make. especially the ones that I would make. Like Tiana would have so many different little things to put on her dress because she has like a very big dress, and like Belle, you would do these little ruffles and everything, and Merida, oh god, Merida, you would take her hair, and what I did is that I would first of all highlight the hair with like different colors of reds and oranges, and then you would take the hair and individually strand it, and like the doll would spin and you have to unstrand it to get that fringe, and it looks great, but it takes forever. And I just go, wow, that is just, it's interesting how far I have come with crochet, because that's what I was into. And now Amigurumi has just really exploded and gone so much further, where like people play with like velvet yarns and everything, and I just can't get into that. And I'm glad people are like doing really well with amigurumi, but like they can stay in that lane, because I would rather make wearables for myself. I don't even know what these princesses would look like in velvet. I'm sure they would look good if I really kept, like, if I wanted to get into it. Like, again, I have all the patterns for it, but I don't know. It's just, it was a time and place in my crochet career, and it is just, I'm glad we're done, and I'm glad that that's done with, but I just, yeah, I would rather turn to knitting and do all those different things. But I think that if you are looking to make things like this, I think these are great starter pieces to kind of understand the differences of, like, crochet. Really, you can make any shape imaginable. Like the fins, I was just making my own shape, and you just have to constantly test them to see what's going to work, and then trying to sew everything on there. And yeah, it's a good time. But yeah, that's the learning curve. And that's everything I have to show you. It's been quite a very productive year, I would say, amongst other things with my year. But I think that, like, I would like to do this some more. I'm not going to say anything that I want to make. I will just, we'll see when it comes to it. I have a couple scarf ideas, but I think having this, like, outlet to kind of talk about it really gets my anxieties out, and to kind of, I like seeing everybody else, what they make, and I love seeing the new trends that can actually influence other people. But yeah, Stitch and Chris episode 3, we have that in the books. Let's see how long it takes to make the other one, guys. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this, obviously, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that nonsense over here. If not, I'm not asking you to do it, but just, I think there's something, God, could you imagine if I review that Red Heart Super Saver yarn that everyone's reviewing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's too many reviews of that one, guys. Like, get over it. But I don't know where this goes. But I wanted to give an update for sure. If not for the YouTube-averse of it all, but for me. So yeah, and until next time, I'm gonna go drink.